Well, good evening and welcome into a Monday edition of KC Sports Tonight. I am Mark Poulose, joined by the great Gabe Swartz, and we have so much to talk about here on this Monday. But Gabe, we have to start with KU baseball. They were in their Super Regional yesterday and today. You and I were up there in Lawrence yesterday. We got there maybe about 3:30 for a suspected 5 p.m. first pitch. We got to see 10 outs of baseball before they called it off at 10:30. So my question to you is, what time did you get home and get to sleep? Because I was probably up and Adam still going at about 1:30 in the morning last night. What about you?
Yeah, I think I was out before that. But, that late at night, you kind of just forget. You lose track of time. I would say that last night did not go the way that we envisioned it going. It's not the way that I think most people who attended that baseball game envisioned it going either. A great season kind of came to a whimper of an end. And Oklahoma and the weather literally and figuratively dampened a great season with how much rain showed up in Lawrence, and by the fact that the 2-game series was 21-3, just not very competitive. And yeah, I mean, KU advanced to a further level than they did the year prior. They were on the doorstep of Omaha, so it stings. And I think that we went into the weekend thinking they were favored to advance and that they could get it done, and it just didn't come to fruition. So that was disappointing for the fan base, but nonetheless a historic season for KU baseball.
Yeah, I think that's the exact lens through which we kind of need to view this Kansas baseball season. I mean, you kind of think of the way that the Jayhawks started the season. They were 10-8 in their first 18 games, and then look what happened. They won the Big 12 regular season. They won the Big 12 tournament. They hosted an NCAA regional for the first time in school history. They swept through that. They hosted an NCAA Super Regional for the first time in school history, and obviously Oklahoma got the better of them there. But big things going on out there in Lawrence for the KU baseball team. Head coach Dan Fitzgerald said today after the loss, he was asked maybe kind of what is the next step for this program, and he said exactly what I think every KU baseball fan or any college baseball fan in general would want to hear a head coach say. He says the next step is sustainability. This is a juncture, this is a level of baseball that KU wants to be at year in and year out, and I think you guys kind of saw KU took serious strides into getting there this week with kind of how they dealt with some of the ticketing situation. I know obviously a lot of people don't like to see how much money and NIL has kind of been involved now in the days of college sports, and if you wanted some of those tickets, you wanted access to some of those tickets, you kind of had to maybe make a donation to the program, get you ahead of the line. But hey guys, that's the way college sports work now. It's pay for play for these players, not from the school necessarily, and maybe in part, but that's what happened. So KU, very, very cool to see them, but their season is now over. Oklahoma came up to Lawrence and swept the Super Regional. So Oklahoma is going to Omaha, but big congrats to the KU baseball team. Good season for them. We're excited. Cool to see that, but we have a lot to talk about, so we're going to let that one go because I think a lot of people are especially going to be interested in our next topic because right now, whoop. You like that, Gabe? We have an old friend alert. That's because
we need to save that sound drop because
hold on.
It gets used a lot.
Yeah,
with this team and this organization.
Yeah, it does. Hey, who would have known what was going to come out of my mouth here? But according to multiple reports, cornerback L'Jarius Sneed is re-signing with the Kansas City Chiefs. This is a guy that the Chiefs drafted, that he spent 4 years here in Kansas City, obviously won 2 Super Bowls. While he was here in Kansas City, kind of developed into one of the best cornerbacks in all of football. After that, goes to the Tennessee Titans, signs a big 4-year contract. No really other way to say it. It just doesn't pan out. He gets injured. It's a really, really big deal. And 2 years into that deal, the Tennessee Titans cut him. All of a sudden, the Chiefs, this past off season, they trade Trent McDuffie to the L.A. Rams. They lose Jalen Watson and a free agency deal to the L.A. Rams. They lose Joshua Williams to the Washington Commanders and a free agency deal. And all of a sudden, the Chiefs are down corner. So what do the Chiefs do? They take Mansour Delane with their number 1 overall pick. They draft Jaden Kennedy in the 4th round. They try to make some additions there. But, Gabe, the way I want to frame this discussion is we're coming out of rookie minicamp, we're coming out of OTAs, and we have mandatory minicamp starting this week. to me, this was maybe the Chiefs, Dave Merritt, Steve Spagnuolo, Andy Reid, looking at who they had there in that defensive backs room and going, you know what? We need some help. There's a guy that we know. We're going to give him a call. But my question is, does this give you cause for concern? Because L'Jarius Sneed, any team could have signed him. No team had signed him yet. And the Chiefs maybe saw what they had with minicamp and rookie minicamp, and they're like, you know what? We need some help. Is this concerning to you? Because to me, it's kind of raising some red flags.
I don't view it that way. I think that the way that I would preface it with, as long as you are not overreacting as a Chiefs fan, thinking that you're getting the 2023 version of L'Jarius Sneed, who was snubbed as an All-Pro, should have been an All-Pro, but was merely just a Pro Bowler, and was one of the best cornerbacks in football that season. And the Chiefs rightly moved on from him thinking, hey, his knees do not appear. They had seen the medicals and they didn't feel comfortable with paying him a lot of money, and they turned it into other resources, other draft capital via trade, and allowed the Titans to pay him to play less games in 2 regular seasons than he did in 4 postseasons for the Chiefs. So I think that this is a classic situation of, for years and years and years, we saw the Patriots move on from guys maybe a year too early or maybe right on time. And guys would go to other franchises from New England and they would flame out, and then they would come back. And even if they were not the level of player that they were when they were originally a star with that team, they would play back at a level that was contributing to winning football and helpful and understood the system, knew what the coaches wanted them to do, all those kinds of things. I view this very similarly to the way that the Chiefs re-signed Juju Smith-Schuster a couple years ago, in that he was really good in 2022 with the Chiefs, and the Chiefs recognized and said, you know what, we're not going to re-sign him. We're going to let him go to the Patriots in free agency. His health did not translate to playing on artificial turf for every home game in New England. The quarterback situation in New England didn't result in him having a productive time with the Patriots at all. And he came back to the Chiefs and he slotted back into a smaller role, but a productive role and a productive voice in the locker room as a veteran presence. So I am absolutely not expecting L'Jarius Sneed to be 2023 leader of the defense, one of the best players on the defensive side of the field of Chris Jones, Trent McDuffie, L'Jarius Sneed. That's what it was in 2023. That will not be what it will be in 2026. But if he can be a veteran presence who helps Mansour Delane and helps Noel Williams and helps Jaden Kennedy, that's a positive for the Chiefs. And he is not coming back to be that star, but he is coming back to just compete with Christian Fulton for a role in the roster and Kaiir Elam, who they brought in free agency this summer. So those are not guys who are expected to play big roles, but we see this headline, and the story that I have written for KSTV5.com is former Chief star. He is a former Chief star. He's not currently a star, and he will not be a star in 2026, barring something completely unforeseen. As long as you view it through that prism and you understand that he's not expected to be better than Mansour Delane, that would be really concerning if that's the case. But if he's expected to compete against Christian Fulton and Kaiir Elam, it is totally okay in my book.
I think I totally agree with you. I'm really excited for this for maybe a couple of reasons. I think the first one is being, if you just kind of take like a big picture look at the Chiefs over the last 2 years when L'Jarius was not on the team, and now I'm not saying this is only brought by L'Jarius or that L'Jarius is the only guy that can potentially do what I'm about to talk about, but this team, to me, in my opinion, it lost an edge. Like, you know, like you'd see like they like in the back in the day, like Travis Kelce, like he was playing with an edge, like he was playing with attitude. L'Jarius Sneed, he's another guy, like in my opinion, like he was a guy, he was an emotional tone setter of this team and of this organization. I think it's some of the I'm trying not to be hyperbolic because I'm thinking about it right now, but I'm thinking back to the AFC Championship game or whatever it was was it the divisional when they had to go on the road to take on the Baltimore Ravens.
Championship game.
AFC Championship. Yeah. And it to me, and maybe I'm wrong, but I view it this way. L'Jarius Sneed made one of the biggest plays in the history of the Kansas City Chiefs when he knocked that ball out of Zay Flowers' hands right there on the doorstep when they were about to score a touchdown. And I believe the Ravens were going to maybe take the lead or at least kind of get back in the game. That was a play that will define the history of this organization because that paved the way to help them win another title. Obviously a very, very big deal here in Kansas City. But I'm glad that element is back. Like, that's a guy, like, he made magical plays, and he was a guy that was a tone setter. But again, me as maybe an objective observer, an observer of the National Football League, when I see this as being a position of need and a cause of concern for me going into the offseason, because I think the Chiefs, their roster is very well-rounded. I think there's a lot of things that the Chiefs have done very, very well in building up this team. But one area I think they're very deficient in, and I think maybe the biggest question mark on this team is the defensive backfield. And when they're sitting there and like, yeah, we just wrapped up rookie minicamp with our number 1 overall pick, the top defensive back in this year's draft, and then another high pick, and then we have Noel Williams, and just as you said, a former first-round pick in Kyer Elam. They brought in Christian Fulton last year on a free agency deal from the LA Chargers, and they're like, you know what? We have to go out and get L'Jarius Sneed. To me, worrisome, but we're going to have to see how it plays out. But to me, in general, a positive, because I think, Gabe, a lot of players, maybe if they get under Dave Merritt's coaching, can probably play up to their ability.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I don't think that playing on turf at home is a positive for a guy who we knew had bad knees. And the Titans, their home games are played on artificial turf. Arrowhead has nice grass, so presumably that helps. Presumably playing on a team that is going to play some winning football has you a little more invested, probably has you a little more willing to put your body on the line and put your body through a little bit more pain than playing for one of the worst teams in the league. And he cashed in. He got his big deal from the Titans, and now he's back for a franchise and a system he's comfortable in. We will learn more throughout the summer as far as what the actual role for him suits up to be. I think it's good that there's some veteran presence for, in particular, Mansour Delane and Noel Williams.
Yeah, no, and it's certainly like a fun player, plays with pizzazz. Like when I look at Mansour Delane, when we hear him talk, he's a guy that looks like he wants to play with some pizzazz and some swagger. Cool that he's going to have kind of a vet to bounce things off of who has literally done it on the biggest stages in the NFL. So L'Jarius Sneed, according to reports, back here in Kansas City. ESPN's Adam Schefter reports that's a 1-year deal that could be worth up to $5 million. Now we're going to stay with the teams at the Truman Sports Complex because the Kansas City Royals, I don't want to really get too far ahead of ourselves here, but in the month of June, Gabe, the Royals have been playing a lot better. I think, what are they now, 4-3 in the month of June? Is that correct?
I believe so.
But a big-time cause for concern because last night the Royals, they lost the last game of their road trip, but I think
they hung on.
What's up?
They hung on. They won.
Oh, they did win 6-5.
But they nearly gave it away.
You're right, because it was getting real dicey there in the end. But the reason I'm getting so far ahead of myself. The reason it feels like a loss,
yes,
is because Royals superstar shortstop Bobby Witt Jr. had to leave the game early yesterday, had a little bit of a banged up knee. Now, it doesn't really seem like this is he had a big tear or anything. It just sounds like it's wear and tear, and it just is kind of building up on him. He's a guy that plays every day. He's a guy that plays really hard. He's also a guy that played in the World Baseball Classic before the season began. But Gabe, Bobby Witt Jr., we know he's a guy, he says it every year, his goal is to play all 162. When Bobby Witt Jr. leaves the game, it's a big deal. How concerned are you?
Ask me tomorrow at 2:45 when the Royals lineup comes out for Tuesday night, because today was an off day. Yesterday was the final game of 9 straight games, I believe. 9 straight road games. I
got to correct the record here real quick. No, it's a 10-game road trip, but the Royals are 5-2 in the month of June. They're not 4-3, baby. Okay. They're 5-2, okay. And on Friday they're playing right here on KCTV5.
There you go. So that's a positive. I was seeing this again today on social media. Everybody's posting screenshots of the standings, and the Royals are 5.5 out of the last wild card spot, which credit to the MLB, I guess you can say this, is every team that you could throw out there and say, oh, they should sell, there is enough of a grasp of, oh, maybe we could get to the third wild card spot, that it has really slowed down the speed at which teams in the MLB become sellers. I know there was reports out there this weekend of, hey, the Athletics are interested in trading for Chris Bubich. There's ESPN report last week that Michael Wacha could be a guy who fetches some prospects at the deadline. The Royals are going to say, hold on. Mark just said we're 5-2 in June. So they're going to keep playing ball. Rangers come to town this week. Friday night, Astros start a series live on KCTV5. Again, I would say check with me tomorrow afternoon when the Royals lineup comes out. If Bobby Witt Jr. is not in the lineup, my concern would spike a little bit. If it's back-to-back days and it's Tuesday and Wednesday and he's not in the lineup, my concern would be even greater. But this is a guy who over the last couple of years has played either 159, 161, 162 games routinely. If there is a time for me to be understanding of him saying, hey, I don't feel the greatest right now. Can I get out for the last 3 innings of a Sunday afternoon game when we're closing up a 10-game road stand? That is probably understandable in my book. And the at-bats he was putting together on Sunday, 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts, it appeared like it was wearing him out, you know?
Yeah, not great. I think maybe the good news is, like, after the game, I was seeing some quotes from manager Matt Quattrero basically saying, like, you know, they just want, with the off day today, the Royals obviously not playing here on Monday. They just kind of saw it as an opportunity, you know, to get him a couple extra hours of rest from the game yesterday until the next game on Tuesday. So obviously, Bobby Witt Jr., guys, we see him day in and day out. That guy is tough as nails. He would never ask out of a game. He's never going to mail it in. He's literally always going to give 110% in everything that he does. Like, you know, sometimes, like, you say that and it's kind of cliche, but about Bobby Witt Jr., it is true. Like, he literally, they say don't meet your heroes, but you could meet Bobby Witt Jr. because he literally is as good as everyone says he is and works as hard as everyone says he works. Like, he really is the real deal Holyfield. So hopefully we'll see that all work out. The Royals don't seem too worried about it, but again, when it's Bobby Witt Jr., when he's the heartbeat of your franchise, when he's the most important player on your team and potentially the best player in baseball that's not Shohei Ohtani, it's a cause for concern. So hopefully, Bobby, nothing too serious there, but we will have to see. But we have about 12 minutes and a big-time topic to close out the show today, and there's a lot of nuance. There's a lot of stuff going on here, so I'm glad we have enough time because we have to set the table. Because today, K-State Athletic Director Gene Taylor got on the phone, did an interview with Yahoo Sports, and he called something a couple expletives. He called it effing BS.
Yes.
That
was the direct quote.
So I didn't, but I think Gene Taylor used the full power of those words, which I did not use because we're on the stream. But to kind of set the scene for you guys here, Texas Tech University this year has a new starting quarterback. His name is Brendan Sorsby, and he comes to Texas Tech from the University of Cincinnati, where he was a really, really prolific player. He was probably the top quarterback this year in the NCAA transfer portal. There are reports out there that Texas Tech is paying Brendan Sorsby maybe $5 to $6.5, $7, $8 million to be their starting quarterback for this upcoming season. But kind of leading into this off-season, spring football, summer football period, it kind of came to light that Brendan Sorsby, when he was a freshman, starting when he was a freshman, not at Cincinnati, but before that when he played at the University of Indiana, that Brendan Sorsby was betting on games that the University of Indiana was involved in, other games, pro games, college games, all sorts of games. Brendan Sorsby was betting on sports as a member of a collegiate football team. And that continued when he left Indiana and went to Cincinnati, where he became the starting quarterback and obviously kind of parlayed his situation into a multi-million-dollar payday, where he has now moved down to Texas Tech and signed a big NIL deal. But when he's down there in Lubbock, in Texas Tech, it came to light that he was gambling. I think, Gabe, correct me if I'm wrong, he might have self-reported this, or it kind of came to light, but the NCAA was like, hey, you were betting on games that there was the team that you played on, you were betting on other games, you are now ineligible to play college football because you ruined the sanctity of the game. You crossed a moral line that is not allowed, and you literally broke the rules of the bylaws of the game, like whatever that they play. Yeah. Like, you're not allowed to bet on them, and he did. Brennan Sorsby said, yep, you're right. I was betting on games. I have a gambling addiction, and this is my understanding of what happened. I have a gambling addiction, yeah. And I'm going to go and seek treatment. And so I believe that he did that. I don't know if it was inpatient or outpatient or what kind of treatment it was, but he sought treatment for a gambling addiction. And then some lawyers, I don't know if Sorsby hired him. I don't know if Texas Tech hired him. I assume, though, that Texas Tech and Sorsby, whoever the lawyers were hired by, were working in lockstep with each other. They went to a judge in Texas, and the judge in Texas, I believe, it's a temporary restraining order, correct? Or an injunction.
Temporary injunction against the NCAA's ineligibility ruling, which means he currently is allowed to play.
So, okay, so they got a judge, and the judge pulled some legal maneuvers to bar the NCAA from banning Brennan Sorsby from playing college football. So as things stand right now, here we are on June the 8th at 5:51 p.m. Central Time, Brennan Sorsby will be allowed to play college football this year. He's going to serve a 2-game suspension. That was his idea, from my understanding, his camp's idea. The judge said, yeah, you're going to serve that 2-game suspension against Abilene Christian and I think Oregon State. Oregon State is the worst team in Power 4. At least they were last year. They're not in Power 4, excuse me, but they're the worst team that used to be in a Power 4 conference. Whoop-de-doo. Texas Tech has a loaded roster. They're going to be just fine. But this has really sent the college sports world literally in a tizzy today. People are like, this guy bet on the game. He should not be allowed to play college football. He should be banned from the NCAA. And there's just general frustration from fans that the NCAA appears to have no power because a federal judge walked in and said this. Now, Gabe, Kansas State Athletic Director Gene Taylor, we all know he's very old school. He did an interview with Yahoo Sports. You did a web article on KCTV5 about it. Let us know what's going on.
So you mentioned the quote that Gene Taylor gave with double expletives to Ross Dellinger of Yahoo Sports. Shout out Ross Dellinger. Great story, great reporting. I am very impressed that Gene Taylor put his name on those quotes, because in an age of anonymous quotes, this is the rare story where actually a lot of people in the sports world, in the college sports world, are so upset, so peeved by the story that they are willing to put their name to quotes that are just straight up trashing this ruling, trashing his ability to play. I think it is utterly ridiculous that he's playing. I have seen the arguments online for it that Texas Tech fans have made, and surely they would make the same arguments if Arch Manning did the same thing. I am incredibly intrigued to see what Joey McGuire says at Big 12 Media Day, and I hope any good standing journalist who is in the greater Dallas-Fort Worth metro area and attends Big 12 Media Days this July, if they are sitting in Joey McGuire's press conference, I would like them to ask, are you okay with other players on your team betting on games and only receiving a 2-game suspension? Would you actively encourage it? One of the things that Brendan Sorsby and his lawyers argued in their lengthy legal battle against the NCAA was that he was betting on Indiana games while he was on the team to, quote, feel closer to the team and for camaraderie purposes. That is nonsensical, illogical, and utterly stupid to say on its face. And second, one of the things that they brought out was that he was betting on the under in Indiana games. So he was actively betting against his team to score points, which is not supportive of his team. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, you don't want that out of your quarterback?
I have seen several people in sports media argue in that Brendan Sorsby is a victim in the sense that there are all these gambling ads across. And how would you expect a guy to not bet or not, as a young person, get caught up in sports gambling? And while I can agree that I think that sports gambling advertisements in large part need to societally be treated very similarly to the way that we've treated tobacco ads, in that we've realized that, yes, this can be very addicting. It can be something that causes damage to you, it causes harm. But there is, if you are legally of age, you are willing and able to do it. There also needs to be an understanding that just because you are playing in the game or coaching the game, you fundamentally lose some of the privileges, I say privileges, that fans get to do. Colleges, NFL teams, all of these things, they also do advertisements with alcohol companies and beer sales and such. But no one would logically argue that a coach should show up to the sidelines drunk because, how dare he miss out on the opportunity to enjoy the game in the same way that fans do. That would be a stupid argument to make. But that's what they're saying, that Brendan Sorsby that he was able to do this, or he's doing this because, he felt like he had to be part of it. That doesn't even get to the fact that he was underage doing it while he was at Indiana, so it was a crime. And at one point, he was in Texas, which doesn't have legalized sports betting, and he was Venmoing other people to make bets for him in other states. So that is also literally a crime. So there's so much of this that we don't have time to get into beyond the 30 minutes of this show. But I felt like, and this is where the internet just like warps your brain and leads to frustration, but I felt like I was taking crazy pills all day listening to his attorney's arguments, the judge's arguments about irreparable harm. He started committing these crimes and these rules violations, blatant rules violations, in 2022. And he got to play in 2023 and in 2024 and in 2025. And he got to get paid to play in all 3 of those years, over $1 million. So spare me the idea that he has suffered some irreparable harm, or he would suffer some irreparable harm to not be able to make a couple $1 million this year. That not being able to play at Texas Tech would not stop him from going into the supplemental draft, going into the NFL, and if he is that first-round talent that everyone thinks he is, he would get to play in the NFL. So I'm all worked up about it. I think it's ridiculous. I think Texas Tech should be the most hated team in college football next year. Brendan Sorsby is going to be, if he plays, the most hated player in college football next year. And it is his own doing. It is the people around him for supporting him, their fault. And the only reason Texas Tech is supporting him is because they've put all this money and investment into it, and it is hypocritical. It's horrendous. It's bad for the sport.
Yeah, it is. I think there are a couple big takeaways from all this. I think, number one, everyone kind of sees the arguments are a farce. Everyone can see how this is not what the attorneys are really making it out to be. But I think the 2 big takeaways, at least for me, number one, Texas Tech, the university here, had a decision to make. And they had a decision as, do we want to win at all costs, or do we want to have standards? Do we want to have a code of conduct by which we are going to operate under and by, and how we're going to represent ourselves and our university? And they chose to not act with class. They chose to not lead from the front. They chose to not lead at all. They chose to back a guy that bet on college sports. And that tells you a lot, in my opinion, about Texas Tech University. They had an opportunity to take a stand here, and they did not. They're supporting a guy who literally bet on the games. Yeah. And I think, number 2, we talk about the supplemental draft with Brendan Sorsby. If I were an NFL team, I would not draft this kid at all. Like, the quarterback position is the most important position in all of football. A guy that has to be a leader of your team. You can't be questioning if that guy is betting on your games. That's like, people, he can go to the supplemental draft. What NFL team would draft a guy who has bet on college football games? So I think Texas Tech has torpedoed its reputation as an athletic program by supporting this. And I think Brennan Sorsby has torpedoed his future prospects as a quarterback by betting on football. But hey, that's for somebody else to decide. That's what KC Sports Tonight here on this Monday night. Until we meet again, take care.